Right, let's jump into the actual topics then. What's like a topic you wanted to do for this show? What did you have in mind? What's happened recently?
Well, do we just go out and go in guns blazing? I guess we could just get into the Astralis a bit right off the bat.
What the fact that dev1ce is playing again? What we're doing here?
Well, there is the dev1ce that was playing again, but did you? I mean, come on, have you not been on social media at all?
Oh, you mean the Yagcore thing? I didn't know you meant Astralis by that. Like, to me, I don't really think of that. When you say Astralis, I think of the team. You mean the
fair enough. Sure. The Astralis CSGO team. That we can definitely talk about dev1ce because Play.gg have been killing it. They've been doing a great job. They kind of like filling. It looks like they're kind of filling that gap that Jackson had going there, but they're just cranking out article after article right now on CS:GO. And there was a really good interview with dev1ce. Quite a few questions, trying to get in on how he felt about the team, how he felt coming back. I mean, it's a lot of the. dev1ce is a trained, he knows how to handle social media. He knows how to handle these interviews now. It's very kind of the kind of answers you'd expect from him where he feels like he's put in the work. Now it's about, easing in, just, not expecting too much, not expecting not to do anything in this first tournament back, but like not expecting to do too much either. He's not looking to take over the world, but he feels comfortable. He feels comfortable with familiar faces around him. He feels happy being back in Astralis. The goal was to come back to Astralis. What was interesting though, he mentions in this interview where he says that it was even a question of whether he came back to CSGO at all because he had a lot of options outside of CSGO as well. So like we could have been in a realm where dev1ce could have been dev1ce just stepping away completely after that break and saying like I'm out. But I guess the offer from Astralis comes in and that's like the perfect project that he was looking for because he's making it sound in this interview he wanted to be with Astralis all along and once Astralis made the offer then he was willing to come back to Counter-Strike because it was with them.
As in, are you implying he would just retire, or that maybe he would go to Valorant?
No, but that's what I'm taking away from what he said, where he said there was a lot of other options open to him outside of esports. I was like, oh, I never even considered. I thought maybe dev1ce would take more time or whatever, but like it never crossed my mind that he would step away for good. It's such a weird thing. It kind of catches you flat-footed because I mean, you really think dev1ce he isn't old yet, and he's
but that's actually one thing. Here's what's mad. This will be an unpopular take, but as fucked up as the things he said were, like I don't agree with the sentiment at all, even though I sort of know what he meant. When he made all those silly comments when he joined NIP in that first vlog, like day one of joining the team that got him in all the trouble, where he said like that they're 5 steps ahead of Astralis's system and all that jazz. As much as like I think he was totally wrong to say that, and I even think he did sort of try to cash in immediately on his fucking former teammates' success to build up his new team. I actually liked that he had that attitude, at least Semmler, because what it implied to me, if you remember, he also said the reason to join NIP was to try and be the #1 player of the year. That's a really good sign because the point dev1ce is at in his career, 99.999% of people to ever be at that point would just have no motivation for anything. They've won all the majors. They've won all the MVPs. Remember, at one point, somebody had all these records. He has the most majors won still. He has the most major MVPs tied with Kovacevicd. He did used to have the most MVPs before Simple finally. This guy at one point around the time when he joined NIP could have just said, I retire. It's over. Unless I think I can be the best again. I've done everything in my CSGO career. By the way, no one's even going to catch those records. Like CSGO would probably have to keep going for 10 more years for someone to catch it. Even then, they'd have to be in the best team ever. So actually, as fucked up as it is, when he joined NIP, I was just glad he at least had some fire left. Like he had something else he wanted to accomplish, a new challenge. So in a sense, it's actually a good sign that, like, even though I don't like the fact Astralis is going to be a semi-shit lineup for the first 6 months, at least he has some reason to keep playing, mate. Because even though I'm different, like I will just keep doing whatever I do a long time. A lot of people, a few years in, it's like you were saying, a few years in, that's a career, mate. In esports, 3, 4, 5 years can be your whole career. Like, even though in sports sense it'd be very young to retire, in the context of what he's accomplished in esports, this would actually be a perfectly reasonable time to retire.
Norbert joke, isn't it? The speed run. Come in, win in the 7 months, move on. It's like, okay. I mean, hopefully that's not the end of his career, obviously. Hopefully he's going to still be in the mix. But I
mean, wait, you say that, Semmler. You're just saying that to be nice. You don't give a flying fuck.
No, I don't.
I know, exactly. You just said that like, oh, and hopefully, good luck to him. The show wishes him well. Like, we don't. Norbert, no offense, mate, but I don't know you from Adam, mate. Like, you're just a funny guy. I actually can't believe still, Norbert, like you won a major. I can't believe it, mate.
It still blows my mind that we're
the idea Guardian will retire, no majors, and you've got a major. Nah, you know what? But this is even worse. I'm going to go further than Sam. I wish I could take your major off you and give it to Guardian. There you go. How about that? He's irrelevant now, mate. Don't worry. He's never coming back.
Dude, that is like, this actually kind of does play into that whole thing that we were talking about last time as well, about, you know, the new generation of players and having to like drum up interest in, and unless there's some kind of dominant freak player like Monacy, where you're like, okay, this is interesting, this is cool, let's see where this goes. If it's anybody else now, like of a new generation who isn't some kind of like dominant player or some kind of master IGL or something along those lines, it's like, you really got to give me something to be interested now. Because like Norbert.
Oh, for sure. Like all Norbert does is fill a seat. Exactly. Yeah. There's nothing to talk about, nothing to write home about, is it? It's just whatever. Yeah.
But I mean, it's like you say, like there is going to be this period at the beginning of the year, though.
It's like that meme, isn't it? You know that meme, Semmler, where it's like, you know, you get the outsiders team that won the major. You're like Jim, one of the like unique, idiosyncratic, but in his own way, maybe idiot, savant, genius, IGL AWPers. Then of course you've got fucking Fame, one of the rising talents of World Counter-Strike, set to become maybe the next Electronic. Then you keep going. Who else have you got? Kicker, long-time teammate of Jim, playing a sort of fill-in role at this point in his career. Then you have Flit, the monster rifler who was being groomed to be a part of Na'Vi, but instead ends up in this route. Not you, Norbert. And then you go to like the next, and then Dastan, the coach, and it's just like that, isn't it? Like he gets nothing. Like the bad thing is, Semmler, even him winning a major didn't in my brain like put his stock up even like 0.01 iota. Like I just don't care at all. Like I know it's fucked up. I just don't care. I just don't.
Dude, it is the truth. You feel bad for saying it, but at the same time, it's like,
it's true. It's just true.
I'm sorry, dude. But congratulations on the major. Still, I mean, that is the thing. Like you did speed run it. Congratulations. Going to be on like Awesome Games Done Quicker, whatever the fuck that speed running stream is. But like, it's good to hear that the device is back in the mix. It's good to hear that he seems to like actually be in a good headspace now. He seems to be in control of his faculties, and he seems to have a game plan as to how he wants to approach the season. It really does look like they're managing expectations. Another point that he brought up and that I really liked to hear is that he says that he's not really involved with social media at all, and so he's not really he's not really aware of what's going on in the social media landscape. Which again, great. Just isolate yourself. You know, focus on the game, focus on your job, focus on your team. Let the rest happen. It doesn't matter. You don't like. That's probably one of the big takeaways that he's had over the past couple of years. Now is just, you know, if you can find a way to isolate yourself from the social media, apart from exactly what precisely you need to be a part of. If you can ignore the rest and still do your job to the utmost, fantastic. There you go. You're good. So it seems like he's matured after this 2-year period, and he's actually going to be able to potentially, you know, do some work, because at least from what we've seen so far, him and Blame F seem to vibe well. They seem to get along just fine, and they're dropping some good numbers themselves. So now it's a question of the rest of the team, Guardian, Zipnix, how this Buzz guy shapes up.
Glaive, you said Guardian, but you meant Glaive.
My bad. Yeah. Glaive, obviously, Zipnix, and then Buzz.
Yeah.
Buzz. But Buzz, I just think Buzz Lightyear. You know, it's easy. Oh, that one, come on, like, voice. But like, dude, that point actually of whether or not this team is going to be shit for 6 months. Well, I mean, don't you think that right now in the current landscape of things, everybody's going to kind of have that potential to be shit in the next?
They're going to be worse, mate. They're going to be
worse. FaZe stand-in. We don't know for how long.
Yeah, but the rumor is it might be config, mate.
Yeah, well,
if it's config,
that is the by the way, one that you can
there's
think
a story.
The only player you can think of that could fill that spot.
Here's my problem, though. Here's my problem. One, that's a dreamer, man. I've always said I always wanted config to have Carrigan as his IGL. I think he would just be the guy who would make him the best player he could be. But here's what's fucked up. Not only could that be good for FaZe, like they could potentially win tournaments still. How fucked up is that on the config angle, though, Semmler? Here's your punishment for fucking the team and wrecking us for all the stickers and the major.
#1 team in the world.
We are going to release you, and you get to stand in to become possibly one day a full-time member of the best team in the world. What's that? Like, what punishment is that? You know what I mean? Like,
fair, Duncan. Why are you looking for fair? Why are you looking for this? It's just
because sadly that's my mistake. You know what the biggest problem ever is, Semmler? It's that even though I understand, if I inherently know the world is corrupt and people are fallen and they're all wrong, I still always naively think like, but they're supposed to tell the truth and do the right thing. I'm naive like that, man. The whole show, the joke is by the numbers has basically been like a fucking like 7-year intervention of Rich and Lewis trying to explain that like they're all corrupt, Thorin. They're just lying, like, but they're not allowed to do that, Rich. Like, well, they're doing it, aren't they? Like, oh, you can't keep getting away with it. They can, Thorin. I've told you for the last 7 years. They can't keep getting exactly. It's just me never
and
learning.
They will keep getting away with it.
Bang my head against the wall. Too. Exactly.
Like, okay, I could fill that role. We could definitely work together on that front, because I mean, dude, it really is that. It's just there is no fair. Expect no justice in this life. It's all going to kind of happen in the next. But for
about the speech that you give to all the young guys joining Astralis. You just say that, you go, look, there's going to be no justice and fairness in life. We're all going to be used and spit out by the machine. And in the end, no one will remember us. Anyway, your first game's on Thursday. You're playing Zipnix spots. Like, sound all right?
And after it. And then you got Lucky and Bubsky and all the others looking in. Can we come back in, please? No, sorry, you're not allowed.
By the way, think how dirty that is as well. No one does think this through. Because Astralis spent all that time telling you they were going to have up to a 10-man roster, it cocks you even harder when you join and they just bench you and you never play again. Like, it makes you look even stupider, doesn't it? It looks like they just don't even think you're good enough to be on a 10-man roster. Like, so whack at it.
Talk about speed running careers. Bubsky, he's just doing well.
That's so sad, isn't it? I know.
It's just brutal because it's not like he was particularly bad either. It's just that I guess he was never a part of the game plan for Astralis. But
he wasn't even vaguely bad. Remember,
to find a team afterwards to put him in a position where he is obviously going to struggle to shine. He then does shine, but you bench him anyway, and then you put him in a position where he just can't get picked up by any other team because you're probably asking for an outrageous buyout. And so what? And then he becomes a broadcaster. There you go. End of his career.
But that's the problem.
Is that really how this is going to go?
As far as I know, they already bought him to sell him. So the problem was that the whole time they were just trying to sell for the highest price, weren't they? Because, the dirtiest thing is, people forget that detail as well. I will remind people of this. The dirtiest thing they did was use Bobsky to qualify for that PGL Stockholm major and then say, you're benched, mate, bring the fucking lucky guy in. No, it was Glaive or someone came back like, the fuck? Like, I qualified. Like, that's the sickest thing of all. Think of Bobsky, by the way. Remember, before the majors, he was at the tier 2 level. He never got a chance to play majors. So when he actually qualifies to a major, would have been the only major of his career. He never even got to play it because Astralis was like, well, even though, by the way, we're not even going to do anything at this major, let's just take a bad PR angle and fuck you in your face. Like, great, brilliant.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.